Draxith V was too quiet for a peace summit. The skies above the alien moon shimmered with electric blue auroras, but on the ground, something colder lurked beneath the ceremonial glow. The air carried the sterile bite of ionized dust, drifting across the polished stone plaza where diplomats and soldiers gathered in formation. Humanity stood on one side, uniformed, grim, eyes sharp. Across from them, the Draxith delegation shimmered in reflective armor, their mouths twitching in smiles too wide, too practiced. Captain Rhea Morgan stood still, her back straight, her breathing slow. She wore a midnight black ceremonial uniform, sleek but layered with reinforced fibers, just in case. Her short-cropped hair was regulation, her expression unreadable, but her eyes never stopped moving, watching, measuring, the way the Draxith guards gripped their spears too tightly, the twitch in their delegation leader's fingers. Something didn't feel right. At her side, Bravo, the cyber-enhanced German shepherd, sat alert. His ears twitched constantly. His eyes, one natural, one glowing crimson from his ocular implant, scanned the crowd. His frame was thick with muscle, fur dark and matted with scars, but there was something deeply human in the way he moved, calculated, reactive, and protective. His nose twitched every few seconds, drawing invisible maps of scent in the air. A soft tone played across the plaza, signaling the opening of the treaty proceedings. Holographic banners unfurled above the crowd, showing both Earth's flag and the swirling emblem of the Draxith Empire. The Galactic Council's emblem hovered above all, 3 concentric rings of stars and light, symbolic, empty, powerless. Ambassador Draxith approached the podium with the slow grace of a seasoned manipulator. His voice purred across the translation channels. Let today mark the end of blood. Let it mark the birth of shared vision. Peace between claw and hand. Polite applause followed. Cameras captured every angle. Rhea's jaw tightened. Bravo's growl was almost imperceptible. She glanced down. Easy boy. Draxith stepped back as Earth's ambassador Penrose approached. An older woman, steel-gray hair in a tight braid, eyes hollowed by too many compromises. Her speech was short, as if she didn't believe the words she was reading. May our children never see war again. Another round of applause. Hollow. Rhea's spine stayed stiff. Her hand never strayed far from the weapon holstered beneath her uniform flap. The moment Bravo stood, she felt it like a jolt through her core. He didn't growl. He didn't snarl. He barked. Once. Sharp. Violent. Echoing. It cut through the applause like a bullet through silence. For a second, the universe held its breath. Everyone froze. Draxith flinched. Rhea's instincts took over. She dropped low, hand flying to her sidearm, eyes scanning for the threat Bravo had sensed. Then, the ground beneath the human delegation erupted. Explosions ripped upward, heat and shrapnel tearing into flesh and bone. A half-second too late, the emergency shields deployed, catching some of the blast, but the damage was done. Ambassador Penrose disappeared in a spray of light and blood. Soldiers were thrown like dolls. The podium shattered into dust. Bravo lunged, not away, but toward Rhea. His body collided with hers, driving her to the ground. The blast wave passed over them. A scream, hers, or someone else's, rang through her head. Then darkness. She came to in silence. Dust hung thick in the air. The acrid sting of scorched stone and blood filled her nose. Her ears rang. Pain flared through her right leg. Shrapnel. Her eyes blinked open. The plaza was ruined. Craters. Fire. Bodies. A distant siren wailed. Bravo, she croaked. No response. She pushed herself up. Her leg screamed in protest. Blood poured down her thigh. She gritted her teeth and dragged herself forward, scanning. A faint whine. She turned. Bravo lay against a broken pillar, his side torn open. Blood matted his fur. One of his back legs was twisted unnaturally. Sparks fizzed from his shoulder implant. No, stay with me. She crawled to him, pulling her trauma kit from her belt. The dog's breathing was shallow. He tried to lift his head. She held it gently. His remaining I met hers. You saved me. You knew. She injected a stabilizer, fast-acting. The bleeding slowed. He stopped whimpering. Still alive. Barely. Above them, dropships descended. Emergency medevac. Alien ships too. Draxith ones. Too fast. Too prepared. She narrowed her eyes. The Draxith weren't running. They were organizing. Cleanup crews moved efficiently, too efficiently. They secured their own delegation, barely tending to wounded humans. Some even stepped over bodies. And Ambassador Draxith? Untouched. Already giving statements to cameras. Outrage. Shock. Denial. We are victims too. His voice echoed faintly. Rhea's hand curled into a fist. Hours later, aboard the hospital ship Vigilant Mercy, Rhea sat in the med bay, her leg wrapped and splinted, staring at Bravo in a suspended stasis pod. He slept for now. Machines kept him alive. He had one eye open, flicking occasionally, as if dreaming. General Hart entered without knocking. Tall, broad, and colder than vacuum. You're lucky. She didn't respond. He continued. Most of the delegation is gone. You and that dog. Only survivors on the frontline side. Bravo saved us. He nodded. Command is calling it a failure in security screening. Faulty scans. She turned her head slowly toward him. No. He smelled something. Something alive. A traitor. Hart crossed his arms. We can't make accusations without proof. Galactic Council is already demanding restraint. He barked, she said flatly. He never barks. The general stared at her. What are you suggesting? I'm saying, she growled, the Draxith wanted a peace stage soaked in blood. And Bravo ruined the timing. Hart said nothing for a long time. Then, do you have evidence? Not yet. He looked at the sleeping dog. Then find it. Quietly. Before the council buries this. He turned and left. In the ship's dim hallway, Rhea walked slowly, her limp echoing against the walls. She passed wounded soldiers, some unconscious, some already draped in flags. One had half a face. Another had no legs. Wore wounds, without war. She reached the observation deck. Beyond the glass, the stars shimmered. Taraxis V rotated slowly below, cratered and still smoking. Debris still floated in low orbit, shattered drones, charred metal, torn banners. She touched the glass. Cold. Distant. They called him primitive once, she murmured. An outdated asset. Too emotional. Too unpredictable. She smiled bitterly. He saw it coming. That bark. She looked up, jaw tightening. That bark started a war. And they'll pay for it. Behind her, Bravo's bark echoed in memory. Short. Sharp. Warning. The med bay smelled of antiseptic and burnt polymer, a scent that had soaked into Rhea Morgan's skin over the past week. She sat beside Bravo's stasis pod, her hand resting gently on the reinforced glass. His vitals pulsed steadily now, slow but stable. They'd replaced part of his spine with titanium mesh, sealed ruptured organs, reconstructed the damaged implant. He was more machine than before, but still her dog. Still the same eyes. Rhea hadn't spoken much since the attack. Words felt like lies now, too soft, too clean. The peace summit had been a trap. The humans, the idealists, the diplomats, bait. The Draxith had sprung the ambush with timing too precise to be anything but premeditated. Yet the Galactic Council refused to condemn them. They wanted unity. Trade. Optics. The truth was inconvenient. The truth had barked. And no one listened. She stood, ignoring the ache in her leg. Pain reminded her she was still here, still dangerous. In the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Her eyes were heavier, sharper. The burns along her cheekbone had scabbed over. She tied her hair back tighter. Survival had made her crueler. And cruel was what this war now demanded. When the door slid open, she expected another medical officer or sympathy-ridden official. Instead, Lieutenant Grant Stone stepped through. Younger, fresh out of tactical command, sharp-jawed and loyal. He wore covert ops fatigues and carried a data slab in one hand. You asked for satellite records, he said, offering the device. She took it, eyes narrowing, and multiple heat signatures under the Draxith ambassadorial platform. Shielded power nodes. One of them spiked minutes before the explosion. Hidden tech. Worse, shielded explosives. She stared at the screen, watching the thermal playback. The spike was timed exactly 7 seconds before Bravo's bark. Not after. Not in response to chaos. He wasn't reacting to the explosion, she whispered. He was warning us before it happened. Grant nodded. I've run the signatures against standard Draxith military-grade demolition packs. It's a match. This is what I need, she said, standing taller. Proof. He hesitated. Proof doesn't matter if no one listens. The Council's already sanitizing everything. They're calling it a malfunction in legacy human shielding. Then we don't go to the Council, she said. We go into their dark corners. We pull out the rot with our own hands. He swallowed, sensing the shift in her tone. You want an off-book op? I want the truth. You in? Stone's eyes hardened. Always. Their transport cut through the black quietly, stripped of identifying tags. No insignias. No call signs. Just map plating, cold engines, and human ghosts. Rhea sat in the troop bay with 4 others, hand-picked soldiers from covert response teams. No ranks here. Just skill. Their mission was surgical. Breach a Draxith intelligence outpost on Sarvik 3, a jungle-covered moon where secrets rotted in encrypted vaults. According to intercepted comms, it was the last known destination of a Draxith logistics commander stationed on Taraxis V days before the summit. His records might show requisition orders, explosives, personnel, something to unravel the lie. The transport dipped through atmosphere silently. Rhea adjusted her visor and checked Bravo's status uplink. He remained in recovery, monitored remotely. She'd left a recording with him, one she never intended him to hear unless she didn't return. Strike window. 7 minutes, Stone whispered through comms. Rhea's response was a nod. They dropped into the trees like shadows. The jungle reeked of fungal rot and phosphorescent pollen. Every step crackled underfoot. Draxith outposts didn't use guards. They relied on isolation and biometric locks. But human war was built on finding cracks and slipping through them. At the perimeter, Rhea dropped to one knee, activating her pulse scanner. 2 heat signatures. Inside, non-combatants. Stone nodded and circled right. She went left. Seconds later, they breached. The compound was small, 3 domes interconnected by carbon filament corridors. Inside, low blue lights and humid recycled air made it feel more like a swamp than a base. The first occupant, a Draxith technician, froze at the sight of Rhea's weapon. She stunned him before he could blink. The second tried to run. Stone tackled him hard, driving a knee into the alien's thorax. Secure him, Rhea ordered. We dig. In the main vault, they accessed a data core, hexagonal, humming, alive with encrypted pulses. It took 5 minutes to bypass the layers. Stone uploaded an AI crawler, and within moments, the system unfolded. The holographic display flickered, revealing delivery manifests, shipment logs, off-world transfers. There, she said, pointing. On the screen, a delivery logged 3 days before the summit. 2 crates labeled cultural artifacts transferred to the Taraxis V diplomatic platform. The signature, Logistics Commander Threx Vural. Destination, Draxith Staging Platform Omega 17. Cultural artifacts, Stone muttered. Right. It's a cover for demolitions. The same crate serials used for plasma mines during the siege of Urvex. They had what they needed. But the Draxith technician, half-conscious, bound, bleeding from a split crest, looked up and spoke through gritted fangs. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Rhea turned. What did you say? The alien coughed. The bark ruined the timing. The humans weren't all in position. Your dog screamed too early. Rhea's blood chilled. So it was an assassination. But you botched it. It was never meant to look like one, the Draxith rasped. It had to seem mutual, retaliatory. But your creature knew. It smelled the war coming. Stone looked at her. We extract. She nodded once. We burn it down. They planted thermal charges in the data vaults and rigged the communications dish. As they lifted off minutes later, fire bloomed below like a red flower against the jungle. Rhea watched it through the rear viewport, the blaze flickering in her eyes. Back on the Vigilant Mercy, Rhea stood before General Hart again, this time with recordings, hard proof, and testimony. She dropped the data slab on his desk without a word. He studied the files, then leaned back slowly. So it's confirmed. They planned it. They used the summit to eliminate our leadership and spark instability. And they nearly succeeded. You took an illegal team into Draxith territory. I took a team into the truth, she replied. Hart looked at her long and hard. This won't be enough to move the council. They'll deny it. Call it fabrication. Say your team coerced a confession. I don't care, she said. We know now. That's all I need. Hart leaned forward. So what do you want, Captain? I want clearance. For reprisal. Tactical strikes. Silent ones. You're asking me to unofficially start a war. She didn't blink. No, General. The war already started. I'm just asking permission to bark back. He said nothing for a moment. Then, slowly, he pushed a file toward her. There's a list. Unconfirmed Draxith forward ops centers. Disguised as embassies. Choose your first. She took the file, tucked it under her arm. As she turned to leave, he called out, Morgan, that dog of yours. He saved a planet. She paused in the doorway. No, she said quietly. He saved the species. And they still don't know what he cost them. The door hissed shut behind her. Behind her eyes, Bravo barked again, just once, and the war answered. The stars above Virex Delta were clouded by smoke. Shattered hulls drifted in orbit, remnants of the first human counterstrike. The Galactic Council had condemned the act as reactionary aggression, but their voice was static now. The Draxith called it terrorism. Earth called it justice. The truth no longer mattered. What mattered was the fire. Captain Rhea Morgan sat in silence at the edge of the forward operations deck aboard the harrowing Dawn, a Black Ops cruiser that didn't officially exist. Her eyes were fixed on a cracked piece of armor lying beside her boots. Bravo's chest plate, scorched and torn from the initial summit blast. The engineers had cleaned it up, reinforced it, but she had refused a replacement. If he was going back into the field, he'd do it in the same plate that bore the mark of betrayal. The scar had to stay. Bravo lay nearby, watching her. His breathing was slow, measured. The burns along his side had healed into thick patches of coarse fur. His prosthetic rear leg whirred softly as he shifted, standing now without hesitation. He had changed. He was stronger, quieter, and something in his eyes told her he remembered everything. The way he followed her without command. The way he never looked away. A quiet alert flashed on the central monitor. Target confirmed. They were going in. The Draxith Command compound on Idrin, for wasn't just a tactical node. It was the center of the Empire's deception network. All orders, disinformation, and covert directives funneled through it. It wasn't on any map, not even the Council's. But Earth spies had found it. The location cost lives. And Rhea had volunteered to finish the job. Her team was ready. Grant Stone stood beside her, adjusting the charge pack on his plasma rifle. Two more soldiers, Mina Torres, silent and lethal, and Callum Reeve, the explosives expert, waited by the airlock. All wore unmarked gear. If caught, there would be no rescue, no negotiations. Earth would disavow everything. Bravo padded to Rhea's side. You sure about this? Stone asked, voice low. She nodded. They took our piece and twisted it into a weapon. This ends here. Stone studied Bravo. He doesn't hesitate anymore. He understands what's at stake. Does he understand he might not come back? Rhea's expression didn't change. He's a soldier. Like us. The drop pod ejected from the harrowing dawn without sound, gliding through clouds toward the dark surface of Idrin 4. The atmosphere shimmered with aurora flickers. Draxith defense fields scattering residual energy. They landed hard, the pod burying itself into the red earth. The hatch burst open. No alarms. No sirens. Just quiet. They moved fast, cloaked by disruption fields. The compound was carved into the side of a cliff. Angular Draxith architecture covered in reflective crystal plates. Guard patrols moved in organized loops. Automated turrets tracked the sky, not the ground. Inside, everything was precision and silence. They breached from the underground maintenance shafts, cutting through 3 meters of fiber steel. It took 8 minutes to find the central node. The vault was massive, pulsing with blue-green light and walls of alien glyphs. Bravo froze. Rhea followed his line of sight. A Draxith general stood alone at the core, Draxith, the same name tied to the shipment of fake cultural crates. The same signature that condemned Earth's ambassadors to death. She stepped forward. Threx turned slowly, expression unreadable. You've come far, human. You started a war. His eyes narrowed. I started a correction. You overreached. Claimed dominion you didn't earn. The council pities you. But we know the truth. You're dangerous, primitive, and unpredictable. Funny, Rhea said, raising her sidearm. That's what we thought about you. Before she could fire, a pulse of energy surged through the chamber. She staggered, ears ringing. Stone shouted, taking cover. The general activated a shield node and drew a curved plasma blade. Kill her, he roared. Turrets descended from the ceiling. Bravo lunged without hesitation, intercepting a charge blast meant for Rhea. His reinforced chest plate absorbed the hit but launched him across the room. He struck a wall, yelped, then rolled back to his feet. Rhea snapped her arm up and fired 3 shots. 2 hit the shield, 1 ricocheted. Torres disabled 1 turret. Reeve tossed a magnetic charge that ripped through a control panel. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Threx advanced. Rhea met him head-on. The plasma blade seared past her ribs, but she twisted, grabbed his arm, and drove a combat knife into his side. He howled, swinging wildly, but she ducked under the arc. A shot from Stone shattered the energy node. The shield collapsed. Bravo struck from the side, jaws clamping down on the general's leg, dragging him to the floor. Rhea climbed on top and pressed her pistol against the alien's head. You murdered my people. For power. For pride. They would have consumed us in time, Threx hissed. Better to bleed you now. She didn't flinch. The shot echoed once. Silence fell. Reeve stepped forward. We good. Not yet, Rhea said. Get the data. All of it. Torres inserted a spike into the central core, pulling down encrypted files. Transmission logs. Assassination orders. False diplomacy trails. Everything they needed to burn the Draxith lies from orbit. We're done, Torres said. The base shook. Explosives? Stone asked, surprised. Not ours, Reeve said. Self-destruct protocol. He triggered it before he died. We've got less than 2 minutes, Rhea barked. Move! They sprinted through collapsing corridors. Fire spread behind them. Bravo led the charge, weaving through smoke and debris. Reaching the evac tunnel, Rhea shoved the others through first, then turned. Bravo stood facing her. His front leg gave out. He collapsed, panting. No, she breathed. She ran to him, grabbing under his torso. He was heavier than before, more metal than muscle now, but she lifted anyway, dragging him with raw desperation. A section of ceiling collapsed behind them. A wave of flame chased them forward. They hit the outer shell seconds before the emergency evac burst through the surface. The shockwave lifted them into the sky. Hours later, the harrowing Dawn hovered in low orbit, watching the fires of the Draxith command base consume itself. Rhea sat in the infirmary again, bruised and silent. This time, Bravo lay beside her, his breathing shallow, machines humming steadily. Stone approached, voice quieter than usual. We got the files out. Transmission logs already hit 3 colonies. The council can't deny it now. They'll try, but people believe us. Rhea ran her fingers along Bravo's fur, resting her head gently against him. Stone looked at them both. He saved us again. He always does, she murmured. A moment passed. Then Bravo opened his eye. Weak, tired, but alive. Rhea smiled faintly, brushing the side of his jaw. We're not done yet, are we? Outside, human fleets moved into position. The galaxy was listening now, but the echo they followed wasn't a speech, a banner, or a song. It was a bark. Once heard, never forgotten. The battlefield on Aloran Prime smelled like wet ash and scorched bone. The sky was a constant swirl of storm clouds and fire, lit by the flash of orbital bombardments and anti-air cannons punching upward like defiant fists. Human warships roared above the horizon, flanked by Earth's new allies. 3 species once loyal to the Council, now betrayed by Draxith lies. The war had spread beyond anything the instigators had imagined. What was once a bark in a courtyard had become a howl across the stars. Captain Rhea Morgan stood atop a ridge of broken stone and alien metal, staring down at the smoldering remains of what had once been a Draxith command citadel. The operation had been precise, brutal. Tactical air support opened the way. Ground teams swarmed like fire ants, and Bravo had led the final charge himself. They'd made sure the enemy never even had the chance to retreat. Behind her, Bravo sat quietly. His prosthetic leg was caked in soot, but he showed no signs of fatigue. The glint in his eye remained sharp, predatory, yet calm. He no longer needed orders. He understood the mission better than most soldiers did. The Draxith were breaking. Their lines shattered on multiple fronts. The Council had issued a fractured statement of deep concern, but the galaxy had already made up its mind. The truth had bled out in every broadcast. Orders signed by Threx Viral, shipment logs, intercepted communications. Rhea had made sure of it. Even the most stubborn worlds now knew who fired the first shot, who spilled the first blood, who tried to mask genocide in ceremony. A soft crunch behind her signaled Stone's approach. He stopped beside her, his armor streaked with plasma burns, helmet clipped to his belt. He watched the field in silence before speaking. They surrendered without a shot, just dropped their weapons and kneeled. They knew, Rhea said. They knew we weren't coming to negotiate. He exhaled through his teeth. War's shifting. The Draxith are fractured. Their core systems are under siege. No one's rallying to their banner anymore. And the Council? Silent. Useless. She nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon. They built this. Turned their back when the first diplomats burned. Let Bravo's warning go unheard. Stone looked at the dog. I've been meaning to ask. Why didn't you pull him off the field after Hydron 4? You knew he was running on the edge. Because he's not finished, Rhea replied. He knows what he started. He has to finish it. Same as me. Stone studied her for a moment longer, then nodded and walked away. There were reports to file. Orders to prepare. Another campaign waiting in the dust. Rhea sat beside Bravo in the red-tinted dusk. She ran her hand through his coarse fur, feeling the heat from his enhanced core beneath the surface. You feel it, don't you? She murmured. It's not just about them anymore. It's about making sure no one forgets. Bravo didn't move. He didn't have to. Later that night, aboard the carrier Resolute Shadow, the command center was quieter than usual. No yelling, no frantic shouts of losses or demands for backup. Instead, calm voices reviewed supply chains, medevac rotations, and prisoner interrogations. The war had entered a new phase, controlled, unrelenting, inevitable. In the briefing chamber, Rhea stood before a crowd of young soldiers. Recruits, mostly. Some barely 20. Some already scarred. She wasn't there to inspire them. That job belonged to propaganda vids and polished officers. She was there because they requested her. Every one of them. They'd heard what happened on Taraxis V. On Hydron 4. They wanted to see the woman and the dog who began the war. She didn't speak from a podium. She stood among them, hands behind her back, eyes steady. You've all heard different versions, she began. Some say the Draxith set a trap. Some say it was a diplomatic failure. Some think we wanted war. Let me tell you what really happened. The room went still. There was a peace summit. We followed protocol. We trusted systems meant to protect us. My team stood in dress uniform. Our weapons were holstered. And then my dog barked once. Just once. That bark saved my life. She paused, her voice even. The blast came seconds later. It took friends, commanders, diplomats. People who believed words could end centuries of blood. Bravo smelled what none of our machines could. He saw what the rest of us couldn't. Instinct. Loyalty. That bark changed the course of human history. She looked around the room. Faces leaned in. Some eyes glistened. He's still with me. Still fighting. Because he knows what's at stake. This isn't a war of territory. It's a war of memory. Of justice. We're here because silence cost us lives. Because one bark wasn't enough. She stepped back. That's why we fight. Not to win, but to make sure no one forgets who drew first blood and who answered it. The room stood in solemn silence as Bravo walked in beside her. The recruits straightened. Some saluted. One whispered, "That's him." Rhea gave a single nod and turned away. She didn't need applause. The next day, they landed on Eltrex 9, final Draxith holdout. A fortress world, the last bastion of command. Intelligence confirmed several high-ranking war architects were present. No negotiations. No mercy. The battle was swift and unforgiving. Rhea led from the front. The terrain was volcanic, jagged. Enemy resistance was fierce, but scattered. Halfway through the assault, Rhea and Bravo became separated from the main squad during a flank maneuver. Plasma fire rained from cliffside turrets. She moved low, firing controlled bursts, while Bravo darted through fire and smoke like a ghost. At the fortress gates, they found the final node, the last central relay for Draxith Command. It pulsed with dark light, shielded and surrounded by heavy gunfire. A direct approach was suicide. Bravo stopped, turned to her, looked her dead in the eyes. She knew. "No," she whispered. "Not again." He stepped forward anyway. She grabbed his harness. "I said no." He stayed still, pressed his head against her chest once, then turned and ran. He was fast, faster than any of them could track. A blur through smoke, a shadow between flashes of fire. He triggered the outer charge points she'd planted earlier. One by one, the turrets fell silent. But he kept going, past the kill zone, through the shield perimeter, straight into the node's central core. The explosion split the fortress in half. Rhea was thrown backward, ears ringing. Dust blanketed everything. When the debris cleared, the node was gone. So was Bravo. She crawled forward on hands and knees, eyes searching, mouth whispering his name again and again. She found him beneath the wreckage. Broken. Still. His single eye flickered open. "You did it," she said softly. "You brought the war to an end." He blinked slow, then stopped. She sat beside him until the sun came up. Weeks later, statues were raised on every human world. Not of politicians, not of generals, but of a dog, scarred, silent, eyes sharp, frozen in a stance of warning. A single bark echoed in every monument. Rhea visited his grave on Earth alone. No ceremony, no cameras, just her and the wind. She placed her medals beside the headstone and whispered, "You were never just a weapon. You were the warning they ignored." The war had ended, but the story would never fade. Because war didn't start with a shot. It started with one bark.